Hey, welcome guys. Welcome to this introductory video that talks about what this spreadsheet is for, its highlights, as well as how the training videos work. Okay, so let's face it, tracking and managing your own personal finances is not an exciting thing to do. And while we all know that it's important to be in control of how you spend your money, most of us are content in simply logging into our bank accounts to see how much money we have in them. If you're lucky, it's a positive amount and you figure it's all good. If not, then that may leave you feeling not so good. But in both cases, this is not telling you how and where you've been spending your money, and it's not a good way to understand and control your spending habits. That's why I started using a spreadsheet years ago to help me track my spending habits. Eventually, that led me to be able to create budgets that were based on the spending that was being tracked in my spreadsheet. So then fast forward a few years later, and you get to this spreadsheet, which is already built and ready for you to use. It saves it. Really at the end of the day, it's going to save you the time and effort to create your own, and it'll get you started using this one here right away. I decided to share it with you as an important tool towards your healthy finances because it'll give you a complete picture and understanding of your spending habits, and that's obviously a good thing. I've created training videos on how to use each tab, and although that may sound as if this is a hard spreadsheet to understand and it'll take time to learn, you'll see that in fact it can be pretty quick to learn and use. The multiple videos are just because I take the time to explain all of the options for each worksheet. In fact, the next section of this introductory video shows you how to use a spreadsheet in just a few minutes. So let's talk about the why or the purpose of this spreadsheet. Have you ever heard the saying, money is an excellent servant, but a horrible master? If you think about it, there's a lot of truth to that saying, and the spreadsheet is an attempt to give you a tool that will help you make sure that money remains your servant rather than become your dark master. Its purpose is to help you understand where your money is being spent, to provide you with an organized way of capturing your budget, revenues, and expenses, and provide you with a tool that can be as simple or as complex as you want for tracking and managing your finances. And so let's talk about a few of the highlights of the spreadsheet. First, it's bilingual, so you can pick whichever of English or French you're most comfortable with. So here, let me just show you. If I come over here in the languages worksheet, right here at the top, cell B2, I can go in here, for example, and select French. And what it will do is here at the bottom, you can see all of the worksheet tab names have changed. If I go to one of them and I select that, you'll see that everything is in French. All texts have been changed in French. Conversely, if I come back and I switch it to English, again, the tabs here at the bottom will switch back to English. If I go back to the same tab, you'll see that all text has now gone back to English. So just a nice little feature here for those who prefer to have French as their working language or English. Um, Other things that you're going to be able to do with this guy, quickly set up as many banking accounts as you'd like to track. You can set up to 4 credit cards that you'd like to track. You can set up all of your revenue and expense categories. You can capture your budget and update it at any time. And by the way, filling in the budget tab is optional, as the spreadsheet is going to work even without budget figures, so don't worry about that. You can easily capture your banking and credit card transactions. You can track your revenues and expenses against your budget, and you can review reports that give you an accurate, summarized, as well as detailed view of where your money is being spent and earned. And then finally, it can help you automatically create next year's budget by using this year's numbers. So you don't have to scratch your head and figure out what the numbers are because you can use everything that you've tracked this year. How the training videos work is pretty simple. I've created a training video for each of these worksheets here at the bottom. In fact, the top section of the languages worksheet, this part here, um, it contains the YouTube link to the corresponding training videos for each one of them. So it's a quick way to go see each one here. But each worksheet also has the link in them individually. Some worksheets, by the way, require more explanation than others. And whenever a training video is quite long, due to the fact that I've got details instructions, what I actually tried to do is create a quick 5-minute introductory tutorial to get you started, followed by the more detailed instructions, which are broken down into chapters that you can navigate through. So you can actually skip forward in the video if you already know certain sections and you just need a reminder on how to do certain things. All right, so let's get started. The next section of this introductory video here is going to give you a quick walkthrough of using the spreadsheet. Okay, so let's give you a quick walkthrough of the spreadsheet to give you an idea of what it can do and show you that it can be quite quick to enter your transactions, as well as get a summary view of your revenues and spending habits. In this section of the video, I'm going to quickly walk you through the setup worksheets that you normally edit only once at the beginning. Then I'll show you how to make entries in the budget worksheet, enter a few transactions, and then take a look at the summary worksheet to show you how everything gets tracked. So here we go. So let's start with the languages worksheet, which is the one that you currently see here in the view. So here you basically use this to choose your preferred language for using this spreadsheet. Everything else is just a language translations. So you don't need to touch anything here in this spreadsheet. You just leave that to me. And we already covered how to change a language here by selecting in cell B2 which language you wanted to. And that's pretty much it for this worksheet. If we move over to the months worksheet, dead simple. Only cell B2 right here is important, and that's where you specify the current year that you're working in. You only change this once a year at the beginning of the year. It can't be simpler than that. Then you move over to the bank accounts worksheet, and this is where you identify the bank accounts you want to keep track of. I've already entered a few examples for you. You don't have to use all of these. I just put them in as examples. You can decide not to fill it out completely, or just do a few like I just did here. I took checkings or checking account, a savings account, and a TFSA. For each one, I said, well, when I start using the spreadsheet, they were all at $100 in their current balance, and then you can give it the date at which that balance was the amount that you indicated. So here, for example, as of October 18th. You can add more accounts if you want to, just by right-clicking and inserting, and that will insert some lines, and then you can add more bank accounts. So pretty simple. You can enter as many bank accounts as you want to. If I move over to the credit card accounts worksheet, same idea as the bank accounts. It's a little bit more complex because you've got statement periods here, but don't worry about that. I'll get into the details of that in the video for that particular worksheet. We're just going to use the default Visa card that's defined here at the top, and we're going to use that in the examples we're going to give you here in the rest of this video. The categories worksheet. Whoa, I know that looks complicated and busy, right? It's just all of the default categories and subcategories of revenues and expenses that you want to keep track of. Once you have a bit more experience with using the spreadsheet, you can change these, but the good news for now is that I've created this list for you so that you can get started right away and not have to enter anything. So for example, under the revenues column here, so this is the revenues main category. As a subcategory here, you'll see things like pay and a few others that are in there, right? So that kind of sort of gives you an idea. Again, or to further the example, on your expenses side, if I take a look at the entertainment main expense category, you got things like movies, restaurants, Spotify, so on and so forth, right? And I've got a few default ones that are already defined for you. So I think you get the idea of main categories and subcategories. And again, the great thing is I've already created a whole bunch listed here. that you can always go ahead and or immediately go ahead and use. So you don't have to create any of these. You can use these ones right out of the right when you get started with it. If I move over to the budget worksheet, this is where you provide your budget numbers. And what you see right now is the summary view that's broken down by all the categories that you've got here and across the top by the month, which is exactly what you would expect in a budget spreadsheet. This is the summary view. If I come up here at the top and I click on this number 2, what it does is it expands each one of these categories so that you can see the subcategories and therefore allows you to capture the budget numbers for each one of those. Now, don't worry, you don't have to fill this in if you don't know yet what the numbers are that you want to or need to put in. You can choose to enter nothing at all or just the numbers that you know. Or if you have all your numbers, then you can put them all in there. So let's do an example. Let's say here in your revenues category for pay, let's say I know this pretty well, and I know that each month I get, for example, $1,000 revenue. So I'm going to start here in January. I'm going to key that in, and I'm just going to copy that across all the months for the year. And so now you can see here I've got a total of 12,000 that's indicated for my revenues for the year. Let's say now that I go down here a little bit further and I go to the entertainment section, and I know that my Spotify account every month costs me, I've got a family plan, so I know it costs me about, I don't know, 16 bucks, something like that. So again, I'm just going to copy that across here. And there you go. So that's all entered in. And let's say every month I also know that I go out to the movies, and let's say it's about 40 bucks a month. And that also I'm going to copy that across. So there you go. Again, an example. I just put in 3 budget categories. Very quick to enter that in. I don't have to put in the rest. Let's say these are only the numbers I know for now. That's good enough. You can go ahead and do that. Already at the top here, you can see that it's giving you summary numbers, right? Broken down for each one each month. So you can see total revenues is $1,000, and that's my pay. And then the total expenses, which is right now just the movies and the Spotify, $40 and $16 added together is $56. And then revenues minus expense for that month leaves me a difference of 944. And it carries those numbers across. And here you get the total for the year, the total, so the total revenues for the year, total expenses for the year, and then the difference, right? And we'll get into more details later when we cover the budget in more detail. If I now go to banking transactions, this is where you enter in your daily transactions from a banking perspective, or every time you use, for example, your debit card, that will create a transaction. So let's say, for example, we want to enter in a transaction corresponding to Spotify. So let's say that on the first of the month is when they take the payment. So I'm going to put in November 1st. I'm going to say it's Spotify and debit. In other words, money that comes out of my account. That's my $16 here. And I'm going to move over to the category column, and I'm going to say that that is an entertainment main category. And the subcategories for that are what's listed here. I'm going to say that that is Spotify. And I'm just going to make sure here I'll scroll across. Note, this is optional. You can add in a descriptive note if you want to. I'm just going to put in test, for example, and just tell it to which account this money came out from. So because I've got several defined, by default here, I'm going to use my checking account. So there's one for Spotify, right? So pretty quick to enter in a transaction. We'll do another one really quickly, and let's say again on November 1st, let's say this is your payday. So a pay amount was deposited in your account. This time around, it's not a debit, it's a credit and money that came in. And let's say you get paid twice a month. So this time around, it's $500 that was deposited. And this time around, it's revenues category, and that is my pay. And there you go. My transactions have been entered. So simple as that to enter transactions. You can get more sophisticated. So there's more sophisticated things that you can do here. But I've only shown you what I've shown you what you're going to be doing 95% of the time with this worksheet. So it's as simple as that. If I move over now to your credit card transactions, same idea, right, as your banking transactions, except that now it's for your credit cards. And same idea, what I'll do here is, let's say on November 1st, I went to the movies this time around. And so let's say I went to Star City, and the transaction for my credit card that time around, I don't know, let's say 25 bucks. And the category there again was entertainment, and this time around it was for movies. And I can continue adding in category or transactions as much as I want. And at any point, if I run out of lines, I can do a right click and do an insert to add more lines in my transactions. Simple as that. All you got to do is actually just fill in these two tabs, your banking transactions and your credit card transactions. This is what you're going to be doing 95% of the time. It's really quick to enter. The good thing is once you've done it there, you can go now to your summary spreadsheet right here. I've selected for the month of November, and you can see in these first columns here, C, D, and E, for the month of November, it's telling me for my revenues up to now, as of today, I've got $500 that has come in against my budget of $1,000, so I'm still $500 short. And under my entertainment, you remember I put in the transaction for the movies and one for Spotify, and it totaled that up for me and put it together and said, up to now, you've spent $41 against your $56 budget, and therefore you're ahead by $15. And it does the sum of all your expenses. And then here at the bottom, revenues minus your expenses, and then it gives you the difference. So it does that for the month. It does that for the year to date as of November. So it takes a look at all of your expenses up to November 9th, not just the month. And of course, I only have a few, so the numbers here are the same as for the month, except now for the budget. Now it takes a look at the budget year to date, so all the way up to the month of November. Remember, I said $1,000 a month. Well, we're into the 11th month, so it's telling me $11,000 is your budget up to now. And so, of course, we're short because I haven't entered in all of my paychecks for the rest of the year. And it's the same thing for your expenses against the total budget for entertainment for the year to date in up to November. And then finally, the last few columns here is if you enter in budget amounts, it's telling you, okay, from November 10th to the end of this year, what's remaining in terms of revenue still yet to come according to your budget is still $1,500 and still $71 in terms of entertainment from now to the end of the year is the forecast according to your budget. So those two added together, your 500 plus your 1500 tells you, well, that's how much you're forecasting for the year against your budget for the year, and therefore the difference for the year. So just a very quick way to take a look in a summary view at your total revenues and your total expenses and how you're tracking against your budget. So very informative. And that's the tab that you're going to use most of the time just to find out where am I in terms of all my expenses and where is my money going and how well am I doing against my revenue. And that's it for this video. I hope you've seen enough to understand that using the spreadsheet can be quite quick and easy to do and provides you with valuable information. Good luck, and I'll see you in the detailed videos.